What do you know about the keepers of secret knowledge? Perhaps you have heard it mentioned in legends, or perhaps in suggestions among those who seek deep understanding. But what if I told you that these guardians are not distant or mythological figures? They are among us in some way, in every spiritual tradition, in every esoteric school, in every mystical teaching that tries to cross the barriers of time and space. Have you ever stopped to think why some information, some wisdom, seems to be kept secret, protected by powerful forces? And what would happen if you had access to this knowledge? What doors would open? What hidden truths could be revealed? What we are preparing to explore is much more than just a story about mysterious beings or secret groups. This is an invitation to pierce the veil of reality as to know and see the forces that shape human destiny. Throughout civilizations, in each guarded mystery, there is an invisible network of protections and guardians, each fulfilling a sacred role, maintaining the balance between knowledge and ignorance, between revelation and the hidden. In this video, we will travel through the corridors of esotericism and ancient history, unveiling the paths of the guardians of secret knowledge. Let's look at the past as well as the present, understanding how these mysteries intertwine with spiritual practices and philosophies that have the power to change our perception of reality. What you are trying to discover is not just a distant echo of a bygone era, but a call to inner transformation. Prepare to uncover what has been hidden for millennia, as the key to the truth has always been right before your eyes. Now tell me, are you ready to open the doors to forbidden knowledge? Millennia ago, before great civilizations such as Atlantis or Egypt, there were secret traditions guarded by ancestral groups, which understood the fundamental laws of the universe and consciousness. These groups of knowledge keepers were known by various names in different times and cultures, but they all shared a common purpose: to protect wisdoms that, if accessed unwisely, could disrupt cosmic harmony. They were sages, priests, and wizards, who knew that humanity's awakening to certain secrets required more than just intellectual understanding. It required profound spiritual transformation. From the Egyptian temples to the Pythagorean schools of ancient Greece, the guardians hid in the shadows, guiding humanity without revealing their true power. But what exactly was this knowledge that they so zealously protected? They were teachings about the nature of the human soul, about the hidden meaning of symbols, and even about the universal laws that govern material and spiritual reality. Over time, the concept of guardians of secret knowledge changed, but its purpose remained unchanged: to prevent the power of knowledge from being used in a destructive way. These teachings were seen as something beyond common reach, accessible only to those who were ready to receive them. Perhaps the greatest example of this is in the Hermetic tradition, whose principles are based on the revelation of the hidden and the understanding of universal spiritual laws, such as the law of correspondence, which says, "As above, so below. As within, so without." For centuries, knowledge was kept within closed circles, like a flame that should never be extinguished. In the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church, when consolidating its power over spirituality, tried to annul any teaching that was not considered orthodox. However, esoteric knowledge could not be eradicated. It took refuge in the catacombs of secret societies, in forbidden manuscripts, and even in the allegories of philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle, who, in their works, unknowingly protected the secrets of ancient knowledge. Have you ever stopped to think why some information, some wisdom, seems to be kept secret, protected by powerful forces? And what would happen if you had access to this knowledge? What doors would open? What hidden truths could be revealed? What we are preparing to explore is much more than just a story about mysterious beings or secret groups. This is an invitation to pierce the veil of reality, as to know and see the forces that shape human destiny. Throughout civilizations, in each guarded mystery, there is an invisible network of protections and guardians, each fulfilling a sacred role, maintaining the balance between knowledge and ignorance, between revelation and the hidden. In this video, we will travel through the corridors of esotericism and ancient history, unveiling the paths of the guardians of secret knowledge. Let's look at the past as well as the present, understanding how these mysteries intertwine with spiritual practices and philosophies that have the power to change our perception of reality. What you are trying to discover is not just a distant echo of a bygone era, but a call to inner transformation. Prepare to uncover what has been hidden for millennia, as the key to the truth has always been right before your eyes. Now tell me, are you ready to open the doors to forbidden knowledge? Millennia ago, before great civilizations such as Atlantis or Egypt, there were secret traditions guarded by ancestral groups which understood the fundamental laws of the universe and consciousness. These groups of knowledge keepers were known by various names in different times and cultures, but they all shared a common purpose: to protect wisdoms that, if accessed unwisely, could disrupt cosmic harmony. They were sages, priests, and wizards who knew that humanity's awakening to certain secrets required more than just intellectual understanding. It required profound spiritual transformation. From the Egyptian temples to the Pythagorean schools of ancient Greece, the guardians hid in the shadows, guiding humanity without revealing their true power. But what exactly was this knowledge that they so zealously protected? They were teachings about the nature of the human soul, about the hidden meaning of symbols, and even about the universal laws that govern material and spiritual reality. Over time, the concept of guardians of secret knowledge changed, but its purpose remained unchanged: to prevent the power of knowledge from being used in a destructive way. These teachings were seen as something beyond common reach, accessible only to those who were ready to receive them. Perhaps the greatest example of this is in the Hermetic tradition, whose principles are based on the revelation of the hidden and the understanding of universal spiritual laws, such as the law of correspondence, which says, "As above, so below, as within, so without." For centuries, knowledge was kept within closed circles, like a flame that should never be extinguished. In the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church, when consolidating its power over spirituality, tried to annul any teaching that was not considered orthodox. However, esoteric knowledge could not be eradicated. It took refuge in the catacombs of secret societies, in forbidden manuscripts, and even in the allegories of philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle, who, in their works, unknowingly protected the secrets of ancient knowledge. Then, why was this knowledge so vital and profound, hidden from humanity? The answer is not simple, but it can be found in a fundamental philosophy. Esoteric wisdom requires an inner awakening. For someone to understand the deepest truths of the universe, they must first evolve spiritually, transcend the limitations of material perception, and learn to hear the truths that whisper in the stillness of their being. The guardians were aware that revealing knowledge without proper preparation could bring chaos rather than enlightenment. They knew that humanity, in its unconscious state, was not ready to understand these secrets without losing itself in the pursuit of power. Knowledge for the ancients was not just a tool to understand the outside world, but a key to move between the dimensions of being. Throughout history, the Guardians have not only preserved this knowledge, but also protected humanity from itself, keeping the flame of wisdom burning as societies evolved. What we are left with today is not just a mystery, but a legacy, waiting to be rediscovered by those who are ready to search beyond what the eye can see. Now, after exploring the historical and philosophical roots, it's time to delve into the depths of what really makes up secret knowledge and why it continues to be one of the greatest mysteries of our time. When we talk about the keepers of secret knowledge, we first need to understand what this knowledge actually is. This is not just codified information or academic teachings. These are universal truths, spiritual laws that govern both the cosmos and human beings. This knowing is deep, silent, and often seems beyond our ability to understand, or at least beyond what we have been taught to accept as reality. Let's start with the concept of secret wisdom. At its core, it is a knowledge that reveals the interconnection of all things. The great esoteric traditions, such as Hermeticism, Taoism, and Kabbalah, teach that the universe is not random. On the contrary, everything is intrinsically connected, and every movement in the microcosm reflects an action in the macrocosm. In other words, what happens inside you has a reflection on the universe around you. This is the principle of as above, so below, which implies that understanding cosmic laws begins within ourselves. The keepers of knowledge throughout history have been aware of a fundamental truth. True knowledge is not something that can be easily transmitted or understood by anyone. It is a key, a door to a new reality, but it is a door that can only be opened by those who know how to look beyond the illusions of the physical world. The key to this understanding lies in self-knowledge, in the search for the true essence of being. Imagine a magic mirror. This mirror does not reflect your image, but it reflects your interior, your soul. To see its true face, you must first look beyond the surface. This is the process of self-knowledge, seeking the deepest layers of the mind, spirit, and soul to perceive the truth hidden beneath the illusions. However, not everyone is ready to look into that mirror. The guardian, in this case, is the one who protects the entrance to this mirror, ensuring that only those who have the right preparation and intention can truly see. Another crucial aspect of secret knowledge involves symbolic language. What is taught in esoteric schools is often not straightforward. Instead, truths are encoded through symbols, metaphors, and images. For example, alchemy is not just the transformation of base metals into gold. It is a metaphor for inner transformation, for the transmutation of the human soul from a state of ignorance and materialism to a state of enlightenment and spiritual purity. Guardians understand that symbols and words have the power to open portals, and like any door, they must be entered with respect and caution. A misinterpreted symbol can divert the seeker from the right path. Therefore, knowledge must be imparted in a careful manner to ensure that the seeker does not fall into traps or misunderstandings that could lead to the destruction of their own spiritual journey. But most intriguing of all this is the fact that the guardians not only guard knowledge, but also act as spiritual guides, helping those who are capable of understanding the true nature of secret knowledge. They do not show themselves openly, but exist in the shadows, often under disguises, as masters, initiates, or even historical characters who apparently have nothing in common, but who possess deep and insurmountable wisdom. Now that we have begun to understand what constitutes secret knowledge and the role of the guardians, the question that arises is, how can we access this knowledge? How can we awaken to the realities they protect? These are the questions we will explore in the next step. But remember, a journey is not simple. What we are talking about here is a call to a quest that requires commitment, preparation, and an inner transformation. A journey that, like the ancient masters, can be more of a journey than a destination. Now that we have begun to understand what the secret knowledge is and the importance of the guardians, we must delve even deeper into the mysteries they protect. There are layers of wisdom that transcend conventional logic, that operate at subtle levels of perception, and that often seem to challenge our common understanding of reality. We are talking about concepts that may seem paradoxical, difficult to decipher, but which are fundamental to understanding the role of the guardians and the deeper meaning of occult knowledge. One of these central concepts is the cosmic unity, the idea that everything in the universe is interconnected, and that ultimately all things, material and spiritual, are part of a single large network. For the Guardians, this knowledge was not just a philosophical truth, but a practical key to manipulating universal forces. They knew that understanding the unity of all things could bring immeasurable power, but also that this power could be destructive if it fell into the wrong hands. The big question is that to understand this unity, the seeker must go beyond the limitations of the ego and sensory perception. The deepest spiritual traditions teach that the material world is just an illusion, an impermanent manifestation of true reality, which is spiritual. This concept is present in many ancient traditions, such as Vedanta, where the illusion of Maya is spoken of, or in Kabbalah, which sees material reality as a projection of divine light. What the secret traditions ultimately reveal is that the seeker must learn to see through this illusion, to understand the true essence of being and the cosmos. However, the very idea that the truth is hidden generates a profound dilemma. If the truth is hidden, how can it be accessed? Here comes the concept of initiation, a process that prepares the seeker to face knowledge in a safe and transformative way. For the Guardians, initiation was not just a rite of passage, but a process of purification and transformation. The beginning was a series of tests and challenges, where his character and spirit were refined until he was ready to receive secret knowledge. One of the most common proofs in the ancient mysteries was the threshold crossing, a symbolic and literal moment of transition between the unknown and the known. This crossing, often represented by portals or doors, was the passage from a state of ignorance to a state of enlightenment. The Guardians then not only protected the knowledge, but also guided the initiates along this spiritual journey, ensuring that the challenges and teachings were included correctly. Another concept that deserves our attention is that of hidden language. In ancient texts, the Guardians often used complex symbolic language so that only those with the proper preparation could decipher it. The symbols were not mere adornments, they possessed intrinsic power. Every symbol, word, and gesture had an energetic resonance that could alter the initiate's state of consciousness. For example, in alchemy, the symbol of gold, it not only referred to the precious metal, but represented the transmutation of the human soul into a state of spiritual purity. Understanding this type of symbolism is essential to understanding how Guardians transmit their knowledge, not through direct words, but through images, gestures, and symbols that carry multiple and deep meanings. Furthermore, the Guardians not only protected knowledge, but also the kept in secret, as they knew that a premature revelation could have unpredictable consequences. They protected knowledge not out of selfishness or a desire for control, but out of a deep understanding that humanity must be ready to receive such teachings. The Guardian, then, was not a master of absolute domain, but a guide, someone who helped the seeker open doors within themselves so that they could access or know through their own means. But this raises another crucial question. Why is humanity as a whole not ready for this knowledge? The answer lies in the nature of the human being itself. The ordinary state of consciousness, often trapped in the distractions of the material world and selfish desires, is largely devoid of the vision needed to understand these universal truths. Secret knowledge, therefore, is not something that can simply be given. It must be awakened within each individual through spiritual practice, deep meditation, self-knowledge, and inner transformation. Now that we understand the complexities of esoteric knowledge and the role of the Guardians, it is time to ask, how can we begin our own journey in search of this deep and transformative knowledge? How can we ourselves become guardians of knowledge, ready to access the hidden truths that await us? To do this, we must look to the real world and the spiritual practices that can lead us along this mysterious but illuminating path. Now that we have explored the depth of the secret knowledge and role of the guardians, it is time to understand how we can actually apply these teachings in our everyday lives. The path to accessing and living this esoteric knowledge is neither immediate nor simple. It requires dedication, discipline, and a gradual transformation of our perception of reality. However, there are practices we can adopt to begin this journey. 1. Meditation and self-knowledge. Meditation is, without a doubt, one of the most powerful tools we can use to access the deep knowledge stored within us. But it's not just about seeking peace or relaxation. Esoteric meditation is a practice that aims to transcend the rational mind and touch the deepest layers of the being. For the ancient guardians, meditation was a way to open inner portals, access hidden dimensions of consciousness, and allow universal truths to manifest within our being. Start with simple practices like breath-focused guidance and gradually move beyond. Focus on questioning reality while observing your own thoughts and emotions. Ask yourself, who am I truly? What is the purpose of my existence? What is beyond the veil of appearances? Working with symbols and archetypal guardians always contains symbols as tools for imparting esoteric knowledge. They understood that symbols were not just representations, but portals to other realities, loaded with deep meanings. The key here is to use powerful symbols, such as those from sacred geometry, the tarot, or the same images from nature, to meditate and reflect on their hidden meanings. A simple exercise might be to choose a symbol that resonates with you. For example, the flower of life, the eye of Horus, or the pentagram, and meditate on it. See symbol. What do you represent to me? What is its deep meaning that you haven't yet realized? The alchemist's way. Alchemy was not just a quest to transform metals, but a metaphor for spiritual transmutation. The inner alchemist is one who seeks to transform his own essence, transmuting the lowest aspects of himself, such as ego, materialism, and fears, into a more enlightened and conscious version of himself. This involves a constant practice of self-transformation, whether through rituals, daily practices, or self-observation. A simple ritual to start with is purification. This can be done in a quiet space by lighting a candle and incense and saying words of intention such as, "I seek to purify my mind and my spirit so that I can access deep and true knowledge." This symbolizes the first stage of alchemy, cleaning the raw material of being, the study of secret traditions. For the guardians, knowledge was passed on in a hidden way, through ancient traditions and sacred texts. For us, the study of esoteric and occult traditions is a way of continuing this legacy. This does not mean accepting everything as true, but as a journey of questioning and learning. Start exploring the teachings of ancient schools, such as Hermeticism, Kabbalah, Taoism, and alchemy. Each of these traditions offers keys to unlocking the mysteries of the cosmos and the human soul. An example of practice would be studying Hermetic principles. One of the best known is the principle of vibration, which teaches that everything in the universe is in motion and resonating at different frequencies. By working with this principle, we can learn to tune our own energy to higher frequencies of consciousness, allowing us to access the wisdom that the guardians have so protected. 5. The look beyond experience. An essential practice you can incorporate into your daily life is the ability to look beyond the surface. This means beginning to realize that material reality is just a superficial layer of a much deeper and more complex reality. Every situation, every person, every event carries a hidden meaning. Practice being aware of what is happening around you, looking for signs and symbols that would normally go unnoticed. Look at the shadows, the reflections, the children, and the silences as they carry messages that ordinary eyes cannot see. The constant question that should guide your search is, what is hidden in this situation? What is not being said here, but is trying to be revealed? Connect with nature. Nature is one of the purest manifestations of universal wisdom. Many of the ancient guardians believed that by connecting with the earth, trees, waters, and skies, we can access a primordial form of knowledge. Nature doesn't lie. It is a direct expression of cosmic laws and the eternal cycle of life. Take time to simply be in nature without distractions. Observe life around you with attention and respect. Ask yourself, what is the message that nature is trying to convey to me? How can I align myself more with the natural rhythms of the universe? Overcoming obstacles. When following this path, you may encounter obstacles. The rational mind tends to question, the ego seeks control, and the distractions of everyday life can pull you away from your practice. However, remember, guardians are not those who give away knowledge easily. They are guides, helping the seeker. Keep their mind focused, their intention pure, and their journey true. This is an ongoing process, and true understanding comes over time. The key is patience, perseverance, and faith in the process. Ultimately, the guardian's journey is not about mastering knowledge, but about allowing that knowledge to gradually reveal itself as you prepare to receive it. With each step we take, we get closer to the doors the guardians protected. As we seek truth, the more we align ourselves with the deep mysteries of the cosmos, and it is in this process of search that one day we will also become guardians of knowledge, ready to transmit hidden wisdom to future generations. Now, as you begin this journey, ask yourself, am I ready to look real beyond the veil? Am I prepared to face challenges and see the world as it really is? As we conclude our exploration of the keepers of secret knowledge, it is impossible not to reflect on the immense impact these hidden truths can have on our lives. We live in an era where the search for knowledge has become increasingly superficial, often limited by immediate logic and materialism. However, what the guardians teach us is that true knowledge is not something to be consumed quickly, but rather something that must be revealed, typed, and integrated over time. Every piece of wisdom stored through the ages has the power to transform our consciousness and our reality in profound and unpredictable ways. But remember, hidden knowledge is not to be sought superficially. It requires an open mind, a willingness to transcend the limits imposed by the common worldview, and a willingness to face the shadows within oneself. Guardians are not just protective figures. They are masters of transformation. They teach us that every quest for knowledge is ultimately an inner journey, and that the key to unlocking the greatest mysteries of the cosmos often lies within us. Therefore, when reflecting on everything that has been considered, ask yourself, are you ready to be the guardian of your own truth? Are you willing to look beyond the illusions and explore the mysteries that have been hidden throughout time? If the answer is yes, know that the path is open before you. It won't be easy, but it is full of wisdom and light. The doors to secret knowledge are in front of you, waiting to be opened. And by crossing them, you will become not just a seeker, but a guardian of knowledge, ready to pass the torch to those who also have the courage to seek the hidden truth. Let this journey begin. Now, because secrets kept for millennia are waiting to be discovered, and you have already taken the first step.